It has been established that Christ had to be a human in order to save the people. However, if he was only a human, he would bear Adam's sin. If he were created as a human, as one person we cited in a previous sermon said, he would have lacked the experiential knowledge of good and evil necessary to deal with man's sin until he gained such knowledge. But that, as we saw in the Genesis account, comes by law. Only by an infraction of the law did man acquire that knowledge. That knowledge, which was obtained by Adam, was passed on to Jesus Christ, but the guilt of it was not. This is, as we saw in the sermon on Christ's humanity, because sin travels from father to son. But Christ had no human father. Rather, his father is God. As all things reproduce after their own kind, we have a human man born of a human woman and born without sin, because he had no human father. And yet he possesses the knowledge of good and evil. At the same time, we have the incarnation of God in Christ because he is begotten of the Father. He is the God-man. Without the deity of Christ, sin would have been involved in the picture somewhere, and atonement for man could never have taken place. But with the deity of Christ, we have a perfect man born under the law. Thus, he required no sacrifice for his sin as Aaron did. He also lived under the law without sinning, and thus he needed no sacrifice for sins, as Aaron did. And he died under the law, having no sin. And thus he was the acceptable offering for sin, and the acceptable place of offering for sin. He is both the hilasmos, or offering, and he is the hilasterion, or mercy seat, meaning the place of propitiation. This is explained by the author of Hebrews chapter 7. Also, there were many priests, because they were prevented by death from continuing. But he, because he continues forever, has an unchangeable priesthood. Therefore, he is also able to save to the uttermost, woohoo, those who come to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. For such a high priest was fitting for us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and has become higher than the heavens, who does not need daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifices for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he died once for all, when he offered up himself. For the law appointed as high priests men who have weakness. But the word of the oath which came after the law appoints the Son who has been perfected forever. These things are both logical and expected based on the simple gospel given to us by Paul earlier. We may not think all of this theology through when we accept the gospel of our salvation, but all of it is implied right there. But what is more is that the deity of Christ is not only implied in these truths, it is proven because of them.